As I mentioned after I left our get together last week, I happened to be the first car on scene of something that, as I turned a corner, I saw debris in the roadway, dirt in the roadway, a tire, but no vehicles. To my right was a big embankment, and down at the bottom of the embankment, a lagoon. To the left, a big sand dune cut away before a big state beach, small state beach. Anyway, I knew what was up, so I parked my car and told the passenger who was paying me to show him the area that I got to do what I got to do, and he's on his own. And I started running, and as I approached the edge of the embankment, my worst fear was confirmed when I heard a woman crying for help. I got to the edge of the embankment, and I know my body's tough, and I looked down, and there was no way to see the ground. It was boulders covered with bushes. So I just jumped and just let gravity take me down, stone by stone as I fell through the bushes. And I ran up to her and realized what I was dealing with as I caught my breath and climbed in the Subaru, back to the Subaru, where I would spend the next 30 minutes behind her dying husband, trying to keep the atmosphere as calm as possible for them both. Said a few things that I knew would be helpful for my experience after being shot, waiting for help. But ultimately, with his wife in care of EMS, as we extricated him to the car, he started to decline, and he died while we were carrying him up to the street level where a helicopter was waiting for him. But that was almost my last performance, because not only could it have been me in that vehicle because it was a car in front of us that got hit, but I know who I am. And the other car was fully submerged. And somehow, when I heard her cry, did I never gave that other car a thought, which is a good thing. I was in the back of that Subaru for 15 minutes before I heard somebody saying that the water that we were dipped into, because the car that I had climbed into was dipped into that same lagoon. That tens of meters away, there was a young man fighting for his life. It would have drove me crazy. And by the time I knew it, so much time had passed that I knew that it was done. But I hated myself for a little bit, because why did I not think of that other car? Why did I not? Why did fucking idiot? Fucking idiot. Why did I not think of that? Where's the other car? But as the weeks gone past and I've seen the stories and seen the car and just been realistic, there's no way I would have been able to help that other driver. I would have abandoned this pleading woman who was tormented that it was taking so long for help to get there. And it was a rural area. That's the way it goes. But it would have been horror for her, and I would have committed suicide unintentionally. But I know my cardiovascular health. If you see me smoking while I'm here in the show, I would have died. And there's no question about it. If I'm really honest about what would have happened, knowing me and what I would have given to try, I don't even know how to open the door of a Tesla. It was 4 feet underwater. I don't even know how to find the handle. Once I found it, I'd have to come up for air before I went back down to try to open it. It would have been jammed shut. I would have had to find a way through busted glass. They retrieved him while I was still in the back seat caring for the husband in all of this, who ultimately died. And he had the bruising in his abdomen to show that he was not killed he was not ejected. He was not killed by any other injury, but that he drowned. He drowned. And it took me almost a week to get over it. But what is ironic is this was almost the very last thing I ever would type, ever would write. And it's just one of my collections. But what's in it is kind of profound. One of the poems is called The Audition. And so I'm going to read that one, and then one that I just wrote this morning after I've been processing it all. This one's called The Great Audition. Again, published today. I almost wouldn't be here. If destiny is a timeline with cause and effect in play, so that rhythms are predictable as wavelengths move that way, then vibrations that are present tell of anger on our streets and in the hearts of those where a clash of particles meets. It is said in many ways, from karma to horticulture, that what is planted is what becomes, like what cues a circling vulture. Back to the great audition, the journey of our lives, wherein our destination depends on how the motorist drives. Where our treasure is, our heart is also, a well-known oracle has spoken, while somewhere in translation, the connection to meaning is broken. Here is where it happens, where we audition for what's next, where we steward all we're given to make cursed or to make blessed. Give, expecting nothing in return, so the positive flows forward. And then, after I performed for you, it would be 1 hour later that this would happen. And I wrote this 6 days later. And after I wrote it, I was reading it, and then I came up with the title. So I'm not going to say the title till afterwards. I have to thank life that I'm still alive, more than in the obvious way, and that a tragedy that I happened upon could have taken my own breath away. I have to thank life for my tunnel vision, to stick to the plea for help, unaware of the drowning young man who, in the same water, could not yelp. The crying love for a husband who just sustained his mortal wounds was like a siren to my soul to keep that grip from slip to the tomb. I only saw the Subaru, and such were the blinders on my heart, to not see, consider, or have any mind to where may have went the other car. I was angry at myself for a time that my rescuer heart was blind to learn a young man was dying, though I had arrived on time. This is where humility is essential to survive. Had I known of the other car, I would not be alive. We've all heard reports of well-meaning souls who die while lending a hand. If you knew my cardiopulmonary health, you would swiftly understand. I would have gone into cardiac arrest attempting to do that for which I'm not fit. This is not even a maybe. I would have died in my effort, and that would have been the end of it. It has taken me nearly a week to accept this as a fact, that if indeed there is divine will, all were blessed that my vision lacked. Had I abandoned the crying woman watching her husband die, while I committed unintended suicide, doing what I am not able, but try. As much as it tormented me to think such rescue had a chance, it would have been a different siren's call, and more than just a glance. Instead of 2 dead, it would have been 3, and possibly even 4. Not only would I have drowned, the heartbroken wife may have added the score. As I walked out of the scene, soaked, scratched, and deflated, I was a linebacker for the wife, who may have been more tragically fated. It has still been less than 1 week, now exactly 10 hours shy, of being first motorist on scene, wherein 2 souls were still to die. Chance favors the prepared mind is a saying that I've heard, and my heart is open like a sail to be attentive for such word, as that which calls the loving heart to do as the loving do, which sometimes means giving our all until our own lives are through. To be continued. And then it dawned on me that that wife saved my life, because for an instant I was angry that I had no knowledge of the other car. But had I not had tunnel vision, I clearly would have died. So what was in her voice and the way she said it drove out all potential, and it was almost like reciprocating angels. She was a firefighter for 15 years, she revealed in that car during our 30 minutes together. And then it was another 15 extricating him, but 30 minutes we spent in that car. And so I may have been her angel in one way, but then she was my very real angel in another. Because again, had I decided to abandon her to possibly save somebody else, she would have been abandoned. She would have watched her husband die, who would have died sooner than he did. And that, I don't know how she would have handled that. So anyway, I'm done, I guess, with my part. But so I'm lucky to be here. It was almost my last performance last week, and nobody knew. I wouldn't know. There was no way to know. But it wasn't. So love life, be loving to those around you, and be thankful sometimes that we don't know some things that we don't know. Be thankful sometimes if something slows us on the way. Maybe it's that dang red light that's ticking you off because, dang it, you didn't want to wait for a red light. We can't see what's down the road, and it may be the very reason that you were slowed is to keep you alive, keep someone else alive. So with that said, I love you all, and thank you, Marie Louise, again for giving me audience and having this stage.